We are going live. Hey, everybody, it's showtime. Showtime, and I'm a giant nerd. All right.
Do. Oh, yeah.
Ready to go live. Hello, everybody. It's a dinosaur. His name's Rex and blah 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 bloop. Do 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 do. Yeah! This episode is sponsored by Quack Alert. They are ridiculously in love with ducks. I have no clue why, but you know what? It's cool. Hey everybody, it's Chris from Charity Board Gamer. I'm excited. We are doing, of course, a double header tonight, and we just had our interview just a little while ago with Dan Hughes about a Kickstarter coming out in February. So let's talk about another Kickstarter that's coming out in February in just a couple weeks. So I've got Sam Stockton in here from BA Games Co. Is that correct? That's how it is on Twitter? But it's BA Games, correct?
Just okay. BA Games.
It's BA Games. I don't know why, but I just put in the code because think throughout today and yesterday I'm just typing it in for all the notifications. But yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about Call of the Deep. We're also going to talk about a charity we've had a chance to talk about before, which is really cool, and we're going to be talking about Heifer. Is it Heifer? I always say Heifer International, which is actually helping families be able to find a way to sustain and to be able to get people back to a level of having a clean water, having goats, having cows, and things of that nature, which is really cool. So it's nice to bring back up a charity that we've talked about here before on the channel. So if you have questions as we're going throughout tonight, you want to ask any questions for Sam, whether it be about the game, whether it be about the charity, please put it in the comments, and we'll be glad to highlight them and talk about it and share your thoughts. So, Sam, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks. Good to be here.
I feel like we've talked before. I don't know why. Maybe it's because we played Call of the Deep, which I think we had a blast, a good time. Where sadly I died at the hands of Conrad, but luckily I think we had ended up killing off Justin and Daniel from Kidsplaining. And then sadly Matt Teitelbaum from Renegade sadly died. May he rest in peace as our high priest. But yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into the board game hobby, and then what made you say, okay, I want to start designing, because this is a new thing for you, or at least this Kickstarter is.
So growing up, it was my brothers and I. So there are a total of us 5 brothers. So we kind of moved around a lot when we were young. And so one of the things we used to do a lot is we played games. Specifically, we were really into Battle Masters and Hero Quest back in the day. And so we kind of just kept the love of game. We had a lot of RPGs back in the day, like Robotech, Rifts, D&D. And so a lot of the base stuff. And so for years, we just kind of been like a family of gamers, because when we moved around a lot, you need friends. But, if you already have brothers, then you're good. So we kind of got close when we were growing up. And then it's almost like a natural leap. At some point in time, I feel like almost every gamer has this desire to design a game at some point in time. Now, whether you're crazy and try and take it to full publishing, or you try and sell the game, that's a whole different story. But everyone kind of creates at least some kind of game. Even when they're kids, you kind of do it naturally. A lot of kids do it. And so even when we were growing up as teenagers, we created a game called World War Toy, where you could take any toy, take measurements of it, and that would give it certain stats. And then you could buy certain abilities for it, and you put that into your army. And so then we would have like basically like Toy Story, but the World War edition. And so we'd have like dinosaurs fighting G.I. Joe. Like it's just the whole floor would be covered. We take tape measures, we'd be measuring the dinosaurs attacking each other. I mean, we had a lot of fun with it. It was a terrible game, but we had a lot of fun with it.
I had never gotten into that idea of designing using my action figures, but this sounds kind of cool.
So it's a lot of fun. It was enjoyable. It was easy. It was very accessible to us, and it kind of showed eyes opening that like later on, because in the moment, like this is a wonderful game. This is a great design. A year or two later, you're like, what was I thinking? That was kind of rough. So kind of buried that one to never be seen the light of day ever again. And we've made games every once in a while in like different locations and things, but it never really kind of like stuck. I was like, it's kind of nice, but in the end, we always wanted to do something in industry, whether it's open a game store or publish something. So eventually what ended up happening is I made a game after reading some books about monster hunters and cults and things. And so I was like, well, what if there's what would a cult look like as a game? And so that became Cult of the Deep. And I thought I wasn't going to go anywhere, but what ended up happening is we kept showing people at like different places. Like we were at Gen Con a few years ago, and just different people that are willing to tell me a harsh no, or other people that I don't even know played the game. And people really started enjoying it. They really liked it. And I was like, oh, actually okay, maybe it's a little better. And then so eventually it built up steam to a point where like, okay, well, let's try it. Let's do it.
So when did you start working on this game? So
I started work about 2 years ago. Initially, kind of made some design, made a few cards, kind of play around with it a bit. And then did a few like small iterations just because I wanted to go through the process of like play testing and just to see what that was all about. And it's cool to see from games improve over time and you get ideas. And so we did that for about 6 months or so. And then really what happened was we played at Gen Con. I think it was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
It was a while ago. But 2019. And so we took it to a few friends of mine and a few people I knew from Gen Con. And we played it, and we had a lot of fun. People really enjoyed it. We really got into it. And we started hatching a plan that maybe, you know what? Yeah, we want this to come to light. So we've always wanted to start a company, so why not?
Awesome. Well, I'm going to pull actually up the site so you can talk more about the game, kind of a little bit more details about it. But I'm going to go ahead, and I'm just going to kind of scroll through. Tell us about Call of the Deep, and let us know a little bit more about what the whole story or the idea of it is.
So Cult of the Deep is a hidden roll dice game. So you are a part of a cult, and there's different factions in the cult. It plays 4 to 8 players in about 45 to 60 minutes. And what happens is you're all part of this cult, you're part of a faction, but no one knows what faction they're a part of except the high priest is the only one that's visible. Everyone else is hidden. And so during that process, there's these rituals and these creatures come out that you're trying to vie for control and power. And you can do that and gain some power, but you got to be careful because you're helping the other guy next to you possibly get the ritual, which means they get even more power. So you're trying to balance like intrigue, who's who, while being part of this cult and to make sure that your faction wins. And in general, that's what it is. And so as you're going through that, though, like, oh no, and then people get, as you said, the theme of the game is there's usually a lot of death in the game. People get stabbed a lot towards the end. Yeah. People die. And that was one of the things that we wanted to fix in deduction, social games specifically, is when you die in social games, traditionally you're just gone. Like you're no longer part of the game. Like you get to be silenced or you're dead or any number of things. And so we decided instead of that, well, let's bring wraiths into it. So like if you were a wraith, maybe you're not quite as powerful as if you're living, but what if you haunted people? And so the idea is that wraiths, when they come into play, you're still helping your team win, but what you're doing is you're actually like haunting and manipulating the dice from other people. And you can like, oh, you're gonna get stabbed. Oh, actually, no. Instead, you're going to actually heal the guy. Like so, you're manipulating different actions on the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the one thing I enjoyed about that is that also when you're dwindling down, it's not like your typical deduction game. You're actually dwindling down people's health as you're playing it. Like the thing I liked about it was that everybody knows who the high priest is. Everybody does. The thing is, you don't know who's trying to kill the high priest, and you don't know who's trying to protect the high priest, and you don't know who's playing for the long haul and wanting to kill everybody else off before they kill the high priest. So it does make for an interesting thing, because I think when I played the game, I was the faithful cultist trying to keep the high priest alive. However, my high priest, and I'm blaming you, Matt, for this, you did not know that I was faithful, and you just started taking my life away from me at a moment's notice. So so it was very hard, and so what's interesting is then I started to try to help Matt stay alive by taking a little bit of my life away from it, and I slowly gave away a little by little that I was the faithful, and it was hard because I figured out who Conrad was early on. I figured it out, and I was like, okay, I've got to somehow chip away at him, but I've got to chip away at Justin and Daniel just as much. And so the hard part is I think the Kabbalists really don't know which one is the Kabbalist and which one is staying for the long haul. Mm-hmm. So it really made for a very interesting battle of, okay, why are they doing the attacks, but they're not attacking, which is interesting because the Kabbalist, the vengeful heretic, is like saying, okay, I'm not going to start attacking the priest yet. I'm going to attack everybody else. So that can kind of also give that feeling of, okay, they might be faithful. So it's a very, very interesting way of playing. But yeah, no, I have definitely been enjoying.
So for people who don't really know, so basically there's three teams. You have the high priest and the faithful, and they just want to purge the cult of the corruption. So the Kabbalists and the heretic, they want to like get them out of the cult. Then the Kabbalists were like, you know what, we're tired of your leadership. We want to be in charge. And so they are ones that actually want to kill the high priest. Then the third faction is the heretic. And depending on what heretic you get, depends on the player count and also what you want to do as a group. And so the player count, so for example, in a 5-player game, there's a vengeful heretic, which basically means he wants to kill everybody and be the last one standing, or just kill everybody, including himself. If he's part of it, that's fine. He still wins because his goal is to destroy the cult. When he dies, though, he actually has a change of win condition. So his win condition change is, well, actually, I want the Kabbalist to win now because I'm just angry. I just want the high priest to go down. And if you're a repentant heretic, which have a different player level, repentant actually will repent of things and actually join the high priest side, depending what happens. So that's why you have the triangle. So like what you said, you'll have this heretic who will start stabbing everybody, but the problem is maybe the high priest is getting a little too powerful. So maybe they'll attack the high priest. And so they're like, well, he attacked everybody else in the high priest. But then the Kabbalists did the same thing early on. So you don't know if either one of them is a heretic, or maybe the Kabbalists haven't attacked the high priest yet because maybe they're waiting. Then you think the heretic, he's got to be, maybe he's there. I don't know. It gets all confused.
Yeah. No, and what's interesting also is that each character gets one of these special character cards, which can change the way that they play as well. So like I was the Guardian when I played. And so my ability was I was able to take life from myself in order to prevent life being taken from someone else. So I took the damage. Whereas Daniel was a merchant, so he was able to change the roll of the dice to fit something that he wanted it to be, and then give it back to somebody else. And I'm like, so it was very interesting seeing that happen and unfold. Or the sorceress, what was it? That like fireball style bomb type thing, where it's like fireball, where it's just like all of a sudden building up that energy and gathering enough dice to be able to do damage to everyone, which is wild. So I mean, we had a situation where the secret Kabbalist was the sorceress in one of our games. And so the secret Kabbalist was just basically, I'm going to build up on my health, and then I'm just going to deal as much damage as I can at the same time. So it was wild. It was a good game. Tell us about those. Like what made you decide? Okay, a lot of games just kind of have hidden roles and their special abilities, and that's it. What made you decide to do something like this, where okay, now not only do they have that kind of hidden role, but now they have these type of abilities to make it change it up a little bit. What made that? What brought that about?
That was actually a play test where we sat down. It was a proto spiel in Omaha. We sat down with the game, and the feedback was like, it's okay. There's some, but I don't. How do I get invested into the game? How do I do more? What do I got to do to get more into this game? Also, we had abilities tied to the roles originally, and so you could use an ability but revealing a role. But then that kind of gets away from the deduction aspect to it because you just flip them up, and it's like it's not really a good mechanic for our game to do that. And so what we ended up doing was like, well, we're going to split things out, and then we're going to create a class. But you're in a cult. You can't be like, oh, this is the barbarian class. Like, that doesn't really kind of function that way. So they're like, well, what kind of jobs would cultists have? And so we're like, well, we have the alchemist. We have this, maybe I do have a sorceress. You have a librarian, an astrologer, the merchant, the guardian. And so we had these classes per se but then we wanted to build characters out of them. So then we did the abilities, and then we had tied them in thematically. So that's why the guardian prevents damage from people. But the assassin does damage to people. The blood mage can lose life to gain more dice. And so like there's different abilities tied to that class.
Yeah, and it really does change up the game as you play. And then, of course, the coins look beautiful. That's what is that? Is that going to be like a Kickstarter exclusive type thing? Is that what we're looking at? Because when I received our copy, we of course have the tokens, which are the cardboard punch tokens, and then we also have the coins to be able to play. And I'm playing with the coins right now. So yeah.
So the coins are going to be like an upgrade that we're going to offer for people, because basically in our pledge we're going to have like a base pledge where if you just want the game, you don't want any bells and whistles, that's totally fine. I have a number of friends who are like, I take the coins and I click them, be like, yes, you want the coins, right? And they're like, nah, not really. I'm like, wow, that's weird, but okay, fine, but certain people have, maybe it's a price thing, maybe just they don't really see the benefit out of it very much, and so they end up going the base pledge, which is totally fine. So we have the base pledge. What we're going to do then is we're going to create basically an all-in or individual thing. So if you want just the coins, that's fine. You can do just the coins on top of the game. But maybe you want the playmat and also the acrylic tokens we're going to do for life. Like maybe you want those as well. So then we'll create an all-in package that will have that stuff. Trying to give you guys a little bit of discount, because if you go all in, we're all into you too. So we'll try and do that as well.
Very cool. And tell us about these. Now, tell us what's the purpose of the coins for those who are watching right now. What is the purpose of the coins?
So we have 3 coins in the game. 2 of them are for what's called a ritual. And so this is kind of, to me, what makes our game look different from other games is that in the center of the board, there's going to be these rituals that are happening. And you roll your dice Yahtzee style, and then you got to commit them to different places. So like dagger stab people, blood heals you. But then we wanted to do something more. And so instead of just stabbing and healing. And so we created these rituals in a track. And what you do is you can commit dice to them. In exchange for working these rituals, you can gain power or certain benefits. And so when you do that, you actually now got to think, okay, what do I want to build power now for later, or do I just want to do things? And so one, 2 of the coins, for example, the siren coin. The siren coin can like redirect a die. So if someone's like stabbing you, you can be like, I'm using my siren coin and it's going to stab you, or it's going to stab the high priest, or you can pick somebody else. And so you're basically paying off the siren. You put some effort into getting the siren coins, and you can use those to defend yourself or other people. And the chant coin, which is the gold one, that one allows you to manipulate your dice. So you roll, you're like, man, I have terrible luck. I did not get what I want. Oh, but wait, I have chant coins. And what chant coins do is allow you to change the face of a die to basically whatever you want. And so certain characters want certain symbols, which by chant coins are really good. Also, it just allows you to get what you want. which is a problem sometimes in dice games. So we wanted to put something in there to kind of help build that power if you wanted to accumulate power over time.
Yeah. And then you were, of course, talking about rituals. So I'm going to show the ritual cards, which, of course, let's talk about the Kraken starting off and how much of a pain in the rear it is to have Kraken dice in the game. So,
in a good way, I hope.
If you're the one giving the Kraken dice, yes. If you're the one receiving the Kraken dice, it is a pain in the butt. It is a giant pain in the butt, especially when you're the faithful and the vengeful heretic knows who you are, and they're like, okay, here, have a Kraken dice. Here, have a Kraken dice.
Yeah.
Here, have a Kraken dice. Here,
at first, it's not so bad. Like the first time you get it, like one day, you're like, whatever. But then you have 2 dice, you're like, oh, that kind of hurts. And 3 dice, you're like, oh, this is really, really bad.
Oh yeah. 3 dice. 3 dice killed me. 3 dice killed me. I was down to about 8 health, and I rolled 3 threes, and I was like, oh, yeah.
So how Kraken dice work is when a Kraken is in the center of the board during the rituals, it has no master. It's just going to go wild and start beating people. So what it does is the Kraken actually attacks the person with the most health. And so what it does is like, oh, you have the highest health. It's going to grab them with the tentacles, and then you get a Kraken die, which is a 4-sided die. So 1 through 4. And every time it's your turn, you're going to roll it. And that's how much damage you're going to take. So it can be 1, 2, 3, or 4. However, you can choose to re-roll it. See, it's really bad. You're like, oh, no, it's going to kill me. I need to re-roll this. You can forfeit the die for the turn. So you normally have 5 dice. So maybe you lose 1 die to re-roll it. So instead of a 4, maybe you get a 2. You're like, okay, that's doable. So, but instead, during your turn now, you only roll 4 dice instead of 5. So it just kind of goes wild, and it starts attacking people, whoever's the highest, and it keeps it equal. So a person with the highest gets it, but once they have one, they can't get one until everybody else has one. So the Kraken is just kind of just hitting everybody. However, if you actually complete the Kraken and you're the one in charge of it, you get to choose how the dice go, and you can take off any dice you want. So you can get rid of your dice, maybe your friend's dice, and then you're like, you know what? Chris has been kind of rude to me this entire game. Here you go. Here you go. You might have stabbed somebody on accident.
Well, they deserved it. I mean, I never stabbed anybody on accident. I always did it on purpose in this game.
You just placed the daggers and they fell into it.
Yeah, it's like, hey, can you just walk over here just gently? And yeah.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
I swear. No. Oh no! Tell us about some of the other cards. Oh! Look who is in here. Our family plays games. Hey, welcome, Nick and Starla and Grant.
Nick and Starla and Grant.
They were on Instagram when I put the thing about you being on there. They gave you a nice shout out, which was really cool.
Oh, they've been great because they're local to us. Pre-pandemic, are we gonna get that like a BC, CE, AD kind of thing, like pre-pandemic?
I don't know.
Post-pandemic, I don't know.
Who knows?
But
I'm looking forward to post-pandemic, but
yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. But so 1 year pre-pandemic time frame. Well, we met him there's a local game convention that Rachel Blasky actually kind of heads up, the Great Plains Game Festival. Plus, we met them at NukeCon Game Day. So it's another one in Omaha, NukeCon, and so. They're such great people, man. Grant played the game with us at the end. He was a heretic and a half. He was so rude. That's what he was. He was so rude. No, he wasn't the heretic. I think he was the high priest. No, that's what it was. So he was the high priest. I was his faithful, and my brother who was playing was a heretic. And my brother the entire game said, "Hey, look, I'm the heretic. Hey, look, I'm the heretic." But no one believed him that he was a heretic. And so wires got crossed, and then I think Grant ended up killing me in favor of the heretic, and then all things. It was bad. It was good fun.
Yeah, it's just I've enjoyed playing this at home, just with the with people. It's nice to be. It's not always fun being the high priest. I'll be honest, because when I'm the high priest. It's just already my kids have a target on my back already, and any,
How's it go? I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, let's kill daddy. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do it in every game. So, yeah, and of course, yep, they said Grant loves the game. So,
Well, appreciate it.
yeah, no, I always enjoy the fact that, okay, you have some chances to mitigate the risk when it comes to rolling the dice. I think that's a really neat thing. Plus the fact, what you were talking about is the whole idea of, okay, when the Kraken dice does come out, being able to get rid of one of your dice to be able to at least get a chance to re-roll and get something better. Sadly, even after getting rid of most of my dice, that just did not happen when I had 3 Kraken dice in my hand.
Oh, sometimes luck is just against you.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I love about dice games. I love some of the randomness factors in dice games because you can't always plan for what's going to happen. But I don't like games that have low roll counts because dice tend to spike very heavily. So when you need something, you get a 6. You're like, hey, but I get a 1. You're like, no. And so like dice are really bad that way. And so I think the best way to deal with dice is to find ways that people can invest in mitigation or invest in powering up your dice. Because then like you're actually building up your power compared to everybody else. Luck is still a factor, but being consistent in the long run tends to do better for a lot of people. Plus, it feels better game-wise. So
now, something else that you've introduced, of course, I love the artwork is beautiful. That's the one thing that I think I mentioned at the first thing when we were originally playing this the one night. But who did the artwork for this?
So our artist was Liam Peters.
Okay.
He's amazing. He did incredible work for us. It was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Also, he was very, very patient with me. First time being art director, and he just very patient. Helped me out a lot.
Now, then you have the sigils. Tell us about the sigils, because that's one of the things that I thought was really a neat type of thing. That also you have like a special card to kind of help. Okay, maybe something's happening at this time, and I just can play this and avoid a little bit of craziness happening to me, which sadly was not my case in my last game. But there's times where these cards can really change things up a little bit. Tell us about.
So what sigils is you each get a sigil. A sigil of persuasion allows you to redirect dice, like 3 of them. Then you have a sigil of destruction, which actually allows you to destroy a ritual. And then add a little bit of power to a ritual to gain benefit. We have different rituals that are based around different aspects of the game. They're all pretty powerful in their own right. Some are more beneficial to other people. Like we have one that's like sigil of time, get another turn. You get 1 less roll, so you can get 2 rolls instead of 3, but you get another turn. And so you can play that on anybody you want, yourself or somebody else. And so what sigils do is it's a once per game ability that no one knows about except you. So it just sits in front of you, just waiting for the time when you want to use it. And then when you use it, you reveal it, you use it once, then it's gone. You don't have it anymore. But they're very powerful effects, and depending on when you play them, they can pair well with different timings and aspects of the game. And so that's why I like it, because when you have just a character, you got an ability. Then you got your role, which helps in how you're going to behave. But then you have a sigil, which allows you, like, okay, where can I really focus on rituals, other people? Like, what am I going to do? So those 3 things together make for an interesting combination.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Because a lot of, like, I've played a lot of hit and roll or deduction games where it's just like, okay, everybody go to sleep, everybody wake up, all right, everybody try to figure out who's who and kill each other off. I like the fact that there's like life, that you start with so much health that you can add to your health, that you can subtract from somebody else's, and then you kind of start figuring out as you're playing who might be who. And then they die, like you said, there's of course the apologetic heretic, where they all of a sudden when they've passed and they're now in wraith form, now they're actually trying to keep the high priest alive. So it really can also change that mentality. Okay, so really, were they faithful before? So does that mean that is there a heretic still in here? But yeah, I like everything that you put into it, in the sense of just there's so many different layers almost rather than just being a plain Jane deduction game. Which, I mean, especially when we're talking about these character cards, which I really enjoy playing as, because I remember I played as the Guardian for one, which was really cool. And then I think for the other one of the other rounds that we played, I played as the Astrologer, which was nice. And we did not go the Necromancer route. We did not go that variant, which I think I might do that in a future game. Tell us about
highly recommend a Necromancer.
So talk about Necromancer, because that's something that is in the rule book. When I was reading the rule book, that is a separate, almost like a variation of the game with that role. So tell us about that role.
Yeah, so we put Necromancer as a variant because they changed the game fairly dramatically. Because what a Necromancer does is when they die, they still become a Wraith. But they're the only character in the game right now that maintains their ability. And their ability is whenever someone rolls that ancient symbol, which is the pyramid with the tentacles, or as someone called it, the E pluribus unum pyramid.
Yes.
It's the pyramid. And so when someone rolls that symbol, you get a coin. And that's the other coin, the Necromancer coins. And so once you get to twice the number of players in the game, and it's going to be your turn, you can choose to come back to life with basically that many hit points or that much health. And so what that does is, for a High Priest version of the game, the rule modifies slightly. So usually the game ends, High Priest dies, game's over. Who killed him? Kabbalist? Good. If everyone else is dead, then the Heretic won, or whatever. And so for the Necromancer, what it is they die, but the game's not over. So in order for the Kabbalist to win, they have to also kill the Faithful.
Okay,
so both have to be dead at the same time. Otherwise, Necromancer is going to come back to life. Kind of like a phylactery. It's going to come back. You got to get rid of the Faithful, or else the Necromancer is going to come back.
Well, I like that.
So what ends up happening is in one game, we had a Faithful literally kill the High Priest. So everyone thought he was a Cabal or a heretic.
Oh my gosh.
But guess what? Killing him means nothing to the Faithful because he's coming back anyways. And so it was a lot that's why it really tweaks the game, because you're like, wait, is killing him good or bad? But you can't just let the High Priest go, because then he's going to kill everybody, because the game pushes you to an end no matter what, whether it's via the Kraken or Ancient Shadow, which is always a fun one. And so the game is going to push you to an end no matter what. And the High Priest starts with the most life. And so you have to deal with the fact that the High Priest is getting power. So deal with it. And so you get rid of him, but then, like, who got rid of him? Who's really on his side? Did anyone protect him? Well, if no one did, then who's the Faithful? And so it gets a little more of like, well, what's what? And then you got to try and threaten people and figure things out with the Necromancer. And so if he's the High Priest, which I really love that variant, it really throws a kink into the game. Also, if the Necromancer is a heretic, for example, they'll join the other team for a while, but as soon as they come back to life, they're on their own team again. And so you got to try to be careful with them. And then if a Kabbalist is a Necromancer, well, that means they might be a little more aggressive, because if they die first, then well, whatever. But sometimes people let them die. Like, you know what? Go ahead and die. Well, their other Cabal will sit back and watch and maybe even kill them. And then no one knows who the other Kabbalist is. And so, like, you can use a Necromancer as a way to manipulate the knowledge of the game, like who's who, what's what, what's going on. I don't understand.
Yeah, the only person that really knows who they are is the High Priest. So I like that. That's really cool. Now, so this is going to hit what, February 2nd, correct?
February 2nd. So, gosh, it's like less than 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No, it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today.
Yep.
Today's Tuesday. Oh man, it's happening! Woohoo!
It's happening, man. I'm excited because we had a good time when we live streamed this. December 17th, I think it was. So yeah, just a little over a month ago. We had a good time playing this, and then I've played it a couple times since, and I'm enjoying the whole, like, when I'm the High Priest, being able to still have something else that I can do to kind of help protect me and things of that nature. Sadly, when I'm the high priest, I do not live as quickly. I think I died fairly quickly because my faithful was so focused on just stopping everybody else and trying to kill them off that they weren't protecting me as much. And so when I was down to health, they were like, "Oh crud," because they got killed right before I did.
Oh,
and I was like,
that's not good.
"Oh yeah." Well, the Kabbalists were slow playing it, and what's crazy though is the faithful heretic. So I had my ritual card. I had gotten the Kraken. Like I had just gotten the Kraken.
You got the power.
But then came out the sigil card that took it from me.
Oh, you're going to get it, and then they just
So they took that from me, and I was like, at that moment, I thought the whole time that they were the faithful because they had not attacked me the whole game. Then all of a sudden, and they were the Kabbalists. So all of a sudden, then she said, "All right, here, I'll take that card from you because I have this card." I'm like, "What?"
What just happened?
And then all of a sudden, "Here, have a Kraken dice. Here, have a Kraken dice. Here, have a Kraken dice."
So are you going to have nightmares about the Kraken? Is what's going to happen?
Yeah, I've already had nightmares about the Kraken. What are you talking about? That Kraken is brutal because once you get it, you're trying to fight it off. And if you're faithful, who wasn't being very faithful, doesn't protect you, guess what? You're going down quick. That's the one thing is like you've got to protect the high priest at all costs. And I died so fast. But
so that is one of the things about the game. It can go for a long time depending if you have a lot of really tentative players, but the game will push you to an end. That's one of the things we wanted. This game was not meant to last multiple hours. It's like this game will end eventually, one way or another. Either everyone's dead or some people are dying.
I think that was about 45 minutes in for that game, maybe about an hour, because we had gotten to the Kraken card. We had already gone through a couple other ritual cards, and the Kraken just came out, and I was like, I'm going to get that card. I have to get that card because I know that card is so brutal and so good in the game. So I'm working for it. I'm working for it. I'm working for it. Other people are, working for it. And then I finally got it. And I'm like, yes, I have it. And now it's being taken away from me. I was like, no. Yeah, that was brutal. That was so good though.
So the game is interesting because of that aspect. But also too, like even protecting someone, you can give them health. But when you roll dice, if you just take the dice into account, not any other rituals, you can at most heal 1 life with a die. However, you can take up to 2 life with a die. So the game is slanted towards taking damage. And so you got to be very careful because like, oh, I just gained 5 health. Yeah, but someone just may take 10 off you. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, I had three attacks with the two daggers come my way in one person's roll, and I'm like, okay, this is not good.
So we've had high priests because you start out like usually around 20 some odd life as a high priest, and you can gain life above your total because you're going to need it. Because we've had high priests with 40 some odd life, 45 health, almost 50. They lost.
Yeah.
You think they're invincible? Then someone's like, 12 damage. You're like, oh, okay, that kind of hurts. And someone's like, oh, another 12 damage. You're like, oh gosh. And you're like 3 Kraken dice. You're like, oh, okay, 24 plus 9. Oh, they just did in three people's turns. They just did like 30 some odd damage. And you're like,
oh yeah, you can go so quickly. I do like the fact that when you are the high priest, you get like that little boost that helps your health, which is nice. And that the cards, it's not the actual it's not the actual priest or the Kabbalist cards that have the health. Instead, it's the actual cards that you draw that have the health for it. And some of them have a little bit more, like the Guardian, if I'm correct. Guardian's got a little bit more in the game, which helps out, especially if you are the one that's protecting the high priest, and then you get slowly killed off by everybody else. But Yeah.
Well, the Guardian's not liked
Including
by a
by
lot of
your
people.
high priest, Matt.
Because
I'm talking to you, Matt. I'm just saying, if you're watching later, yeah. So
the Guardian's tough because she has a little bit higher health pool, and she's most efficient when she's helping other people. Like she can be tough herself. She can reduce damage basically by 1 against her
Mhm.
every time, or she can block 2 damage for other people. So like the best combination is if you actually find out who a partner is and you're on the same team, and one of you's the Guardian, you want to shovel health to the Guardian because then the Guardian will block for you and prevent more damage than you can gain. So you actually can just teamwork and try to actually build momentum.
yeah. Now, something else that we're going to talk about tonight. I could talk about this game, I think, the whole rest of the live stream right now, honestly, and I probably would end up playing it right now if we could. But I'm going to pull up.
Simulator.
I know, it's so good. We need to do that again sometime. But let me pull up real quick the other thing we want to talk about, which is Heifer International and the work they're doing, helping out with making it possible for people to be able to sustain and be able to have the things that normally they could not have and afford through people's generous giving. So let me pull that link real quick. I'm going to stop that screen and get a new screen up. And I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this. And let's see here. And here we go.
Talk about like my experience with it, or
yeah, talk about your experience with Heifer International. Yeah, what made you choose this nonprofit to talk about tonight?
So this one is near and dear to my heart personally, because when I was younger, I lived in Peru, in South America, for 2 years. I was a missionary there for my church, and while there, I got to work with a lot of people doing great. I helped build houses. I did a lot of things depending on where I was at. So some areas were a lot more well-to-do, but I served in some areas that were not as well-to-do. Great people, very humble, very amazing people, but they were in a situation where it was very difficult for them, and there was really no way out in a lot of ways. That's one of the things about sometimes you don't like the level of poverty in some parts of the world is astounding. It's very astounding. And so while there, helping them out, being there, working shoulder to shoulder with them, it always broke my heart to a certain extent. And so trying to always work and help them and everything. But what I like when I came back home, which took some getting used to, because once you're in a country for 2 years and come back, total culture shock. Not to mention, I didn't really speak English anymore. And so when I came back home, I have friends there. I still keep in communication with friends down in Peru. One day I will go back. One day, post-pandemic. But the best thing to do is they provide like basic starter animals and education for people. So you can either donate a little bit of money and you basically go and like get someone a pig, which you wouldn't think would be that big of a deal. But a pig is a big deal for people. Could be the start of a herd, right? And so they raise that pig. They'll eventually eat it for meat, but at the same time, they can have more pigs, which means they can get more food, and it allows them to have a sustainable living. Maybe they sell that meat. They can do a lot of stuff. Down in Peru, chicharrones it's a very popular dish down there. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with an animal, and they have alpacas and goats and sheep, water buffalo, heifers, different animals that do different things for people depending where they're at. So like goats and heifers are used for a lot of times for milk. That's what it is. So you have sustainable milk, which you can also not only feed yourself, but then you can actually sell it. And so what Heifer International does, not only do that, but they'll even introduce business cooperatives and training for people. They even have a package where it's like an animal care package, because a lot of these places, if they're already poor, they can't afford a veterinarian.
No.
How do you deal with the animal nutrition? Well, there's some basic things you can do to help get better life out of your animal, to make the life better for the animal, as well as provide more milk and do different things for your family. And so that's why I really love Heifer International, because I've been down there, I've been with people, and I've I've seen people be the recipients of gifts like this, and it can really change a life. And I've seen it, and I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to know that it's making it possible for people to get back into society, but also being not so much in society, but being able to like have clean water, have milk, dairy. I mean, that's a big thing. Just simple things as that, whether it be a goat, which a goat can serve a lot of purposes.
Oh, goats are amazing.
Yeah.
For their size, they produce a lot of milk. Well, that milk you can drink. You can also turn it, if you want to store it for later, you can turn it into a cheese, right? And a single goat also, once maybe you have multiple goats, you start creating a herd. You also it builds on itself. So herding animals and how is it? It's a very way of living life down there, and being able to do that is very difficult because it can be expensive to start. And so having that ability and the ability to do that and be financially independent to help your community out, and they'll help other people in the community, and it'll help the community as a whole to grow because they're starting. It's a wonderful thing to see. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just reading through this, last time I looked at this, it's nice to see that there's something that we can do to help people. I mean, we have a lot of stuff going on here in the U.S. Of course, there's a lot of things going on right now that need to be addressed. I mean, we've got injustice that are across the board. And these things have been going on for quite some time. It's just finally people are maybe opening up their eyes to a lot of it. But there's also things going on outside of inside of our nice bubble. And here's a perfect way for us to be able to help out with people who are definitely in need as well. I mean, God forbid we ever have to deal with poverty ourselves as people. I mean, there are people, of course, here that are dealing with homelessness, and we have ways that we're able to help out there. But sometimes our eyes are so narrow and not seeing the things that are going on outside of our world. It's nice to know there's organizations like this that are making a big difference. Like, I mean, just this whole area right here, which is talking about women empowerment, just different things that they're trying to do to help that come into being. I mean, equality is still something that is not everywhere. It's not. There's still situations and still things that have not come into being yet. And that now there's at least ways that people are able to educate and help to create independence, to create financial independence. It's beautiful when you can see that happening here. And then, of course, where it talks about environmental sustainability, being able to have the crops, be able to have the milk, be able to have the animals, the livestock that you need that could help provide meals to people, milk to people. It's beautiful to see it. So, no.
And they even do other stuff. Like they'll even do like irrigation pumps in order to help with like farming, because in some parts of the world there's not much there for water, and depending on where you live, it's really hard to get water uphill, especially in Peru. So having ways to pump water uphill and then down to get crops and terraces and all kinds of stuff is a wonderful thing. Being able to move that water from point A to point B. And there's also biogas stoves for communities so that they can cook food. This is the basis. And they can pull it from the manure of animals or different things. They can basically pile it up and create the gas and the methane. They can use it and they can burn it. Like there's all kinds of stuff you can do with what they do. And that's what it's all about, is providing that financial independence for not only people, but for an entire community who can build and help each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice to see all this. It's nice to see what we can be doing. I mean, I love this. Hatching Hope. Poultry is amazing. I mean, poultry is one of the things that, eggs. We're talking eggs. We're talking about chickens. We're talking about meals for families. I mean, you think about how much people go out and get wings, like how many wings you can get in a restaurant or at a store. Well, think about being able to give somebody that ability to have those kind of meals where they can be able to sustain their family and not have to starve. It's big. Yeah. So, no, I am very excited about this. This is something that, you know, I think sometimes we need to take back a little bit and see that there's a lot of things going on outside that we have ways of being able to make impacts and make change for. And here's a great example of that, especially with just reaching out, and if possible, being able to financially support it, which is big. I mean, you can give one time. It doesn't mean that you have to spend $100 or $20. You can spend what you can give. You can give it in honor of somebody else. Maybe there's something that you take. I mean, I grew up drinking goat's milk. I was allergic to dairy for the longest time. I probably still am. I am lactose intolerant anyway. But, you know, goats to me made it so I can enjoy milk. I mean, we lived in an Amish country area, and so that was what I was able to drink. So my thought is, okay, if I can give and be able to make it possible for a family to have a goat, why not? So,
and this is the coolest part about it. Like when you can actually, when you go to like the animals, for example, they'll give you the cost for a whole animal. So you can be like, you want to give an alpaca to a family? This is the full cost. Or you can buy basically a share of that alpaca. So what you're doing is you all go in together, you put your money in, and you buy an alpaca for the family.
Yeah.
And so just that's what's so cool about it. It's like you can give a portion, like there you go on the goat, for example. Full goat going to cost you 120.
Yep, 120.
Which to us is like, I know it's for donations, sometimes it can be a little lot, but for $120, you're giving someone the ability to help sustain life.
Think about it. That's the cost of Twilight Imperium, 4th edition, right there.
Yeah. So I do love Twilight Imperium.
I have not played it, but I mean, versus playing it, you know, you could give somebody something that can sustain them for a long time.
Mm-hmm. But it's only $120, right? But the thing is, that's the greatest part about it. It's not $120 and you're done and you got this thing, got a meal. Like, no, they actually got training. They got ability to financial independence. They were able to use that goat possibly to start a herd. They can use the milk. They can sell the milk. They can make cheeses. And it's like that $120 is a long-term investment for that family because goats live years and they're productive for years.
Yeah, there's sheep right there. You've got alpacas. You've got dream baskets. Water.
Clean water for life. That's a big one, especially in places like Africa. Clean water for life is huge because there's so many villages where they had to literally have to track miles and miles to get water and bring it back. It's like an entire day experience to haul. You can't haul that much water.
Oh no,
it's heavy and awkward. And so carrying water is a tremendous burden. So being access to a well, even if it's within a mile, is way better than trekking 5-6 miles and then carrying it 5-6 miles back. It means you're not sitting your entire day getting water. That means you can go to school. That means you can do other things. You can work. Like there's different things you can do if you don't have to go 6 miles for water.
It really, it's beautiful that there's these organizations, and I love the fact that, like you've said, and that I've seen before, is that we can actually see what the money is going towards, knowing that, okay, if I were to make this donation towards a goat, if I were to do $10 today, that would be going towards a goat. I could actually say, I want to go ahead, click on the goat, and I want to maybe give $30. Okay, there we go. That's a copy of what? Maybe Marvel United at Walmart, $30, $29.97.
Something like
right?
That.
Yeah, something like that. So you want to go ahead and give a copy of basically like a Tiny Epic game, $20 right there. Okay. So you want to give the whole Twilight Imperium right there. There we go. You can go without a game for a day and give it back to a good cause. You know, that's something that's really cool. And you can give it in honor of somebody. I mean, I know who I would give it in honor of. But yeah, it's beautiful. So I want to say that is a great way to finish. So if you are interested in actually making a difference in somebody's life, please go to heifer.org. Take a look. You want to donate $10 tonight and put it towards a goat that can help sustain a family? Please do. You want to get a sheep? Do it. You want to spend a whole $750? That's what, maybe a Simon Kickstarter right there, like all in, Rising Sun deal or something. I don't know. What is that? There's those crazy Kickstarters. I think the Batman Chronicles thing, which was way ridiculously overpriced. I'll leave it at that. But
there's miniatures, I'm on board. But
yeah. But I mean, Batman Adventures, that does look cool. But no, you could spend your Batman Chronicles pledge instead and put it towards something that's going to help more than just yourself. So here's something beautiful to do. But yeah, I love that you brought this up, because it's great to see repeat charities come back and be able to talk about them again, because things like this, I think we need to have that mentality and focus of, okay, it's more than just me. There's so much out there that we can do, that we can make an impact. And if I can put $10 towards a goat, I'll put $10 towards a goat. If I can put $750 towards clean water for a village, why not? I mean, do you want them walking miles to get water? I mean, I've heard of trips where people go over and they're like carrying a bottle of water with them, and they're like walking around these people who have to walk for this water, and they're like just wasting it. They're pouring their water out, and I'm like thinking to myself, why? It
hurts my soul. It hurts my soul to see that stuff. And when I was in Peru, sometimes you'd run into that stuff. And you're like, oh, yeah. You're like, what are you doing? Do you not realize? It's like, just.
Yeah, or when you go into somebody's home and they're preparing you their best meal that they can probably prepare. And you eat it. You eat all of it, and you are grateful for it. Mm-hmm. And you show thanks because they are preparing the best of the best for you. So why not give the best of yourself to give back towards these people, to make it so that way they can have a life that's worth living. Look at these kids on here. They're happy. Why are they happy? Because somebody else believed in that their life was worth living. So, I think we'll end it at that, because that's very true. Yeah. Let's see here. Susie says, my ex-boyfriend did a gift of a goat for one of my Christmas presents one year. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, Susie is, of course, my number 2 favorite Canadian, tied for first almost with Angelica, just because she has an amazing heart for people. But yeah, Sam, thank you for coming on tonight. Love talking about Heifer International. I am definitely a fan of this organization, so being able to talk about it whenever we can is great. Yeah. And then, of course, I am excited for February 2nd, Groundhog Day, where we will be seeing your game on Kickstarter, Call of the Deep. And I wish you some amazing success, because I truly enjoyed it. I know the people that played it with us that night, they enjoyed it as well. And I look forward to hearing about it being successful on day one. I would love to see it get funded on day one. So,
you and me both.
But folks, we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap up in a little bit. I'm going to be back on here to play Dave the Tentacle on Twitch. If you want to, I've put out a post on our Twitter and as well as our Instagram, where you can join us in our Discord and just chat and relax while I play a retro game and have some fun. So we're going to wish you all a great night. We're going to quickly play out. And remember, if we can gather at the table, we can do the same for a good cause. So go ahead, put it towards Heifer International. Or if you watched earlier tonight, the Joseph Salmon Trust, which helps out towards families who are dealing with the loss of a child. So I will see you all later. Everybody have a good night. Say good night.
Night.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Greenbrier Games. Be on the lookout